responsive to community concern. The proposed amendments would make great progress. But we've come this far, I wonder if you wouldn't be willing to go a little further. I'd like to suggest adding 4 things, 2 of which are relatively easy. As Dominique spoke, access to shade. It's hot in direct sunlight, even when temperatures in the low 80s. Tethered dogs especially need access to shade since they can't seek it. Imagine sitting in your car with the engine off, which means the AC is off and one window is down. Just one, so there's no breeze. When all we require is shelter, that's what we're saying is okay. A doghouse is no respite from the sun, it's an oven. 2, requiring a doghouse, door flap, and dry bedding to insulate in the winter months. Saturday I was volunteering with an animal rescue group and we came across a Shih Tzu chained outside. Neighbors said it's chained in the winter too. There are no restrictions on the type of dogs people can keep outside, and all dogs are not created equal, so our laws must protect the most vulnerable. 3, setting temperature thresholds, at which point pets would have to be brought into temperature-controlled environments. It seems most conversations about this revolve around what a dog can survive, but I think that's a very low bar. Since 32 degrees is the definition of freezing, and animals are supposed to have access to water, then it seems that's a reasonable temperature at which to draw the line, since their water would become ice. 4, adding a tethering time limit. I know that this is a harder sell, but it's rare when the right thing is the easy thing. Humane tethering is something of an oxymoron since dogs are social, not solitary animals, and being tethered and alone for years on end is cruel. Tethering dogs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year too often leads to neglect. I volunteer at the Humane Society here in Spartanburg on a weekly basis, and one of the worst consequences of neglect is heartworms, a deadly disease that is an epidemic in the American South and spread by mosquitoes. If a dog is tethered and not on heartworm prevention, it's practically a miracle if they're not infected. It costs hundreds of dollars to treat a piece, and the cost of treatment many times falls to rescues and shelters to cover when a sick dog is surrendered, lost, or removed. I walked 7 dogs at the shelter yesterday, and 5 of them have heartworms currently or have been through heartworm treatment. I'd estimate about 40% of dogs there have heartworms, although Angel Cox would know better, she's here. I've fostered many dogs through heartworm treatment, and it's not easy and it's not without risks. But my foster dog, Tiny Tim, died during treatment. Embedded collars are another very real problem associated with neglect. Imagine chaining a dog up and then not noticing that the dog has outgrown the collar to the point that the dog starts to grow around the collar. I fostered a dog named Joey, who survived an embedded collar as a puppy, but who ultimately couldn't overcome his compromised immune system and he died before his first birthday. Tethered dogs are also vulnerable to everything: tangled chains, bad weather, evil people, and loose animals. It's worth mentioning that apartment dwellers don't have yards or the ability to tether, but many of them still manage to have pets. I know animals are considered property. That is another problem, but I'm sure we all recognize that a dog is not the same as a car or a house or a boat. They live, they can suffer, and they can die. I've heard it asked, what did humankind do to deserve dogs? I don't know, and honestly, if we don't take steps to protect them from the worst, I'm not sure we do. I implore you to consider adding these items so we can get it right the first time and not have to revisit this issue, because lives are at stake. Thank you.